Football, by the hell.
Old Trafford, this is the future of dreams. Will you please welcome...
Hello, welcome to the Busby Way podcast. Hello. It's episode 15. United have just gone up the table up into third on goal difference, but it still counts. We're going to pick the bones out of the last two games and basically talk all things Man United. Before you do that, get your phone out, get your laptop out, give us a like, share and subscribe. It helps the algorithm, and make sure you comment and pass on the pod. Join with me as always is the Oracle of Old Trafford, Bradley too. Brad, how you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling zen. You know, Man United are flying up the table. It was a really poor first half, but no, I feel great. What about yourself, Jambo?
Yeah, buzzing, mate. Man United are back. It's official. It's actually official. We are back.
We've been back for a while now, and it's I don't know. We're kind of like we're plodding a little bit in first halves, but yeah, we're coming up with the results, and it just feels very what's the word? Like inevitable that we're going to get Champions League.
Business as usual.
Business as usual. Yeah.
But yeah, today obviously we took on Palace. We ended up winning the game 2-1. The first half of the game, it was basically a tale of two halves, wasn't it?
A tale of two halves.
That was it. Basically, the first half was pretty dire. I mean, the back end of it we did okay.
Pretty keen.
Pulled through. But yeah, it was a bit of a poor showing to start with. Were you a bit worried at the start of the match?
I wasn't worried. I was just more annoyed. You know, I just they couldn't get the basic passing right. I think I counted, and I'm not going to slag him off too much, but Dalot made at least 5 misplaced passes, and they were easy passes to make. But then it was kind of catching. Everybody was doing it, but they were trying to be progressive. So I kind of forgive them for it. But we got the result in the end. You know, we were turgid for 30 minutes. Then we started to turn up, and then all of a sudden in the second half, bish bash bosh. Dean Henderson's crying, and you know, how's your father?
Yeah, he's fine. Thanks for asking.
Fine.
Yeah, but Dean Henderson crying always adds an extra layer of a goal to a game.
He made some great saves though today.
He did,
to be fair, especially that one in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was a great save, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But fantastic. But I think for me, the first half, like we said, the first half an hour was dull to watch. We were trying to be progressive. We were trying to pass. None of the passes were landing, and it wasn't just Loro. Luke Shaw was guilty of it. Mainu was pretty poor for it. Casemiro was. We just couldn't get hold of the ball, and we couldn't string any passes together. But I felt like Crystal Palace instead of me. They were passing it around, moving it quite well. They weren't like punishing us, but they were keeping the ball while retaining it. And there was long periods where it was like, we've not got the ball, and if they score now, I'd like to see how many goals they score on the run-up.
It's kind of it was a game of formations in that first half. Obviously, when you're going to be the team that doesn't have much of the ball, or is giving up a bit more of the ball, you kind of have to make use of it when you've got it. Otherwise, getting it back off that formation, we could see when Man United played that formation under who should not be named. Ruben. I've named him anyway. In
the files.
Yeah, he's in the he's
in the Brad files.
He's in the Brad files. No, what we need to do. Basically, the 3-4-3 formation, or whatever it is that they play, is very, very difficult to defend against and win the ball back against, because there's options all over the pit, all over the field. They're wide. The wide right-sided midfielders tend to spread the pitch, and they can retain the ball quite easily. We struggled to cope with that, and then in the second half they started to tire quite quickly.
Yeah, and I suppose, like you said, it's to be expected against that formation to not be able to break it down. But we have seen that we've had trouble breaking down the low blocks as well. We've been quite good when we're playing against teams that are quite open, giving us space. Do you think that's something for Carrick to think about, that he needs to strengthen when we're playing about these teams and actually kind of get to grips to it? Because I've been a bit nervous about these teams playing low block. It's like, can we consistently be breaking these teams down?
Well, I think it's a good question, because why did he start Benjamin Šeško today? Well, actually, if we saw against the Everton game, it wasn't until Šeško came on that we were posing more of a threat. When you're playing against low block teams, if you've not got a striker on the field and a recognised striker, it's really, really difficult, because then you're removing an option to play crosses in. And in the first half, Šeško, he had one chance in the first half. It was kind of a routine save for their keeper, but in the second half, it opens up a little bit more. They're trying to get the second, but then we're also trying to equalise. So we're putting crosses in the box to Šeško, and he's putting them away now. So it's fantastic.
Absolutely, it brings us on to Šeško. He is on such red hot form at the moment. It was written today that he'd score the winner. It just seems like he's banging the winners in every week. It's not just he's scoring like pivotal goals in matches. How impressed have you been with him at the moment?
I've been impressed massively with his attitude. I liked his comments after the Everton game. Actually, there was a lot of pressure on Michael Carrick to start him against Everton and to start him against West Ham and to start him previously, because he's been coming on and scoring goals and impacting the game. But fundamentally, the team that was starting games was doing well. It was passing the eye test. So Šeško's had to really work hard and push for that starting position. And he's had randomly critics. I don't know. Having watched Manchester United, especially over the last few years, struggle in the forward positions, I can categorically say that isn't happening with Benjamin Šeško, and wasn't happening all season. When he was playing, even under Amorim, he was looking like he would score, or he was getting into good positions. And we said many a time on this podcast, and you can go back and check, people who watch. We said that it's going to come good for him, and guess what? It's coming good for him, because if you do the right things consistently, you will get your rewards for it. So yeah, I'm really happy for the lad, and long may it continue, because he's got a bright future ahead of him. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like at the start of the season, you got to remember he's still very young. I know the price tag forever young, but yeah, the price tag does hang heavy on you at that age. But we did need to be patient with him. But even in the darker days at the start of the season, when we were dropping points left, right, centre, he was linking up other players. He showed promise as a good player. Now he's kind of bearing fruit, and I feel like, I know when we had Højlund in his first season, he had that little purple patch.
Yep.
I don't think this is a purple patch. I think this is him, and I think we're utilising him correctly, and I think he's just going to go from strength to strength.
Yeah, that header today, I mean, the goals that Højlund scored when he was in his purple patch were like very patchy goals, very
5 yards out, scramble
5 yards out, scramble it in, or like running onto something, and obviously it's all about timing of the runs. The Šeško goals are really clinical finishes. I mean, that one against West Ham was world class. Fulham, absolutely brilliant. Everton, brilliant. The pace that he had, and that's brilliant. I mean, I just want to pick on one thing that he said, that Price is way heavy on the youth. I think that's wrong to a certain extent, because actually, what Manchester United have lacked over the last few years is picking the right characters. Now, if you're going to get bought by Manchester United, we're going to have to pay a little bit more than what other people are other people are going to pay. But the characters got to be right, and it seems like the characters that we've bought in last summer are prepared to be Manchester United players, are prepared to feel the weight of the shirt, but then like step up to it, and that is so important, and it's kind of what was missing in our previous recruitment. We were going for names. Yeah. You look at the people that we've had through. You can judge the recruitment team however way you want, but they've probably gone to statistics. We signed the likes of Lukaku, we signed Di Maria, we signed Falcao.
No one was crying in the streets when we bought these players.
No, nobody was. There was mad stats that the Aguero moment when Manchester City tweeted about it got less than an average signing from Manchester United. Likewise, it was like
Eric Bailly's announcement picture.
Eric Bailly's announcement picture. I mean, the two clubs. One's got hundreds of years of really good history, and one's got 135 charges. You know what I mean? It's a difficult one, but ultimately, it feels like we're signing the right type of players. We're going to talk about the game a bit, and obviously Loro didn't have a very good game. No. But he seems to be a bit streaky. But that's a young player, But what I like about him, he's got the balls to get himself back on the pitch and show. And he never seems to hide in games. He always wants to.
I think that
he always
go
shows.
For a tackle.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think and that at the start, the corner came in. Obviously, it kind of his man should have been stopping that, but he didn't. But having that happen so early on in the game, it could affect you for 90 minutes. Yeah. And I don't think it affected him too much. I don't think it was his strongest game. We have seen the standards he can get to, and I think, like you said, he's just a young player. You're going to have to give him time and let him develop. And like the good thing is, like we said on this podcast plenty of times, is there's a lot of youth in that defence at the moment, and I think the future for our defence is looking good. Yeah,
the future for the defence is looking good if we manage to keep hold of Harry Maguire. I think Harry was good today again. He's physical. He seems to be rising in the shirt, and I think we need to keep characters around like that for next season. Well, I do think there needs to be a plan for who's the next starting defender, and I think Harry would probably understand that himself. He's 33 now. He's not got too many years left at the top, but he can still do a job for Manchester United for the next few seasons, 100%.
And I think I think it's kind of been reported that he's willing to drop his wage down just to stay at United. So that shows a little bit of the character he is, I suppose.
It's about time, isn't it? It's about time that we have that. What did we have? The Paul Pogba documentary asking for double his wages before and where's Paul now?
Yeah. He's literally, where is he? I think I saw him in Salford the other day.
Well, I tell you where he is. Paris Saint-Germain were playing Monaco and he was away celebrating Ramadan. Do you know what I mean? Like I love that he does that, but consistently he's not been able to play football, and that's the biggest crying shame about that lad's career. I know that's a bit of a segue from talking about the United squad, but I look at that lad with so much disappointment because he was one of the best players that potential players that I've seen in a Manchester United shirt. And I'm just sad the way his career's turning out. Sad for him. It's a shame to football.
Yeah, great dancer as well.
A great dancer.
So go back on today.
Jesse's at Corinthians. Talking of good dancers.
There we go.
Just signed for Corinthians. But I'm happy for Jesse because he took a segue career going over to career, wasn't it? And
that was a bit of a rogue move, but he welcomed it and he ended up enhancing his brand and getting his move.
Yeah,
but
it's fashion and stuff over there as well. So it's fair play to him. You know what I mean? Fair play.
But let's move it back onto the match today. Obviously, there was that red card, and that was a pivotal moment for us today. We were obviously losing, we were trailing, we needed that little spark, it needed something, and I think a penalty was exactly what we needed at the right time. But was it a penalty in your mind?
Yes, it was a penalty, and I'm sorry, but if it take Chris Kavanagh today, it took him 8 minutes. It took that VAR check took 5 to 6 minutes. 8 minutes that were added on at the end. How can it take so long to decide? As soon as he gives the penalty, it can only be one thing: denial of the clear goal scoring opportunity. He was the last man. He was clean through on goal. Why do the fans in the stadium need to sit there for 5 minutes while some bloke watches 15 different versions of the angle and then goes to the other bloke? You're going to watch the same 15 different things, like without any communication. We've dogged VAR before, and I there's stuff that's come out this week that they're going to do it for yellow cards and things like that, and I kind of agree to that because I don't think the refs can be trusted to referee games at the moment. I mean, you saw the one on Ahmad in the Everton game where his shirt's getting ripped off his back and he gives the foul and doesn't give a yellow card. But yet, today you see one and it's given.
Well, Kavanagh had that the other week, didn't he? And it was his first game back from that. It should have been a penalty. So as soon as that happened, I think he wanted a really incident-free game, and obviously huge incident. But again, if you can't be trusted, I think the level of officiating, I think it is fair to say, he's gone down because they've been reliant on computers to do stuff to make these calls. They don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, I think it was a penalty. You could argue on another day we wouldn't have got it, but who cares? We got it and we scored it and went on to win the game. So
I mean, you look at the tackle that a United player got booked. I think it was Dalot. Dalot got booked for a very slightly late tackle, right? Very. It was. I think even they said in commentary that it was very unlucky to get booked for it. But Luke Shaw came off the pitch injured with a tackle that was like right up there, on the top of his foot, not looked at. Nobody goes back to it. And then, we're talking about incident free. Šeško heads the ball and their defender puts his hand up and stops it going towards the goal. It didn't even register a VAR check. Nothing came about it. So that you're absolutely right. The level of officiating in the Premier League is terrible. I did watch the Old Firm derby though today.
Oh yeah, it could be worse, couldn't it?
Could be worse. Scotland, oh my days, it's so much worse up in Scotland. It's random.
Yeah, that's it.
Penalty for Celtic. Wait there. It's a penalty for Celtic.
Yeah, checks his betting out.
Yeah, checks his betting out.
But no, that was awful. That call, and like you said, the officiating is poor. I think it is. It seems like we're moving it all towards VAR anyway, and I think that takes a little bit of the fun out of football. In that respect.
Unless they completely, we've said this to the cows come home, haven't we? But unless they open up the communication more, so people in the ground actually know what's happening and there's some accountability. You can't. That's how you fix VAR. Yeah. Show the accountability. Expose these people who are making the decisions so they get better at making decisions, rather than randomly picking 3 incidents from 2 weeks of football and letting Howard Webb front up against it with Michael Owen. You know what I mean?
Well, it seems to me they're trying not to make decisions. They're trying not to make mistakes. Do you know what I mean? So it's like they're trying to do everything by the book as much as possible. Yeah. So and it's not making for good football. It's not making.
Think of it as a pathway, right? So if you're a referee and you're refereeing at the lower leagues and you want to become a top referee, you become a top referee and you don't have VAR, right? So there's no real use of it, and you saw with that lad who stuck to his decision. I can't remember his name. He was a brave, in the City game, he stuck with his guns. But there's no other referees that do that when they go to the screen. So it's like it's almost like an unwritten rule when they get sent to the screen, they make that decision. And everybody wants correct decisions to be made, right? And it just doesn't happen. The Burnley one was dreadful.
Awful,
that was dreadful yesterday. I know Cal, our producer's a Blackburn fan, so he's very, very happy with it. But how can that be clear and obvious that he handles the ball? I watched it 15 times and I couldn't see that he handled the ball. It's ridiculous.
Well, to be fair, Cal came in today and he said he was gutted about it. He really said that Burnley showed a lot of spunk and spirit to get back.
He did.
He was loving it. He said he might actually start going the matches.
I know he did say go to watch Turf Moor. Yeah.
Good old Cal Walsh, that is. That's Cal Walsh. But
and he's in the main stand at Ewood Park.
Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? But he loves Burnley now. Absolutely loves it. I think he's got a Sean Dyche tattoo.
That's it. Should we talk about the injury situation that happened today?
I think Cal's going to end up getting one next time he goes in Blackburn.
Back onto Manchester United.
But we've got injuries are seeming to pile up at the moment, and not pile up, creep up, I think is the word. There's a few there going that are coming in at the moment. The big one for me is Ligt. What's the crack with him?
Where's Ligt? It's ever since he broke up with his wife. Yeah, you know what I mean?
The White Witch has put a hex on him. Yeah, that's it. She's like disaligned his chakras.
That's it, or his shoulder blades or something like that.
No, but there is a few. Obviously, Shaw went off today. That could be a bit of a miss if we've got him out for.
Who's the other left back?
There you go.
Malacia. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like poor old Malacia, who was the only left back on the bench and didn't get brought on. Yeah. You know what I mean?
There has to be a point. It's like, why are we putting him on the bench? You just play him at some point.
It's just such a shame. I mean, I think with that lad, we should have just let him go. And we denied him a transfer on the last day of deadline day, and he just wants to play football. You can see.
And do you know what? When he was playing for United, he absolutely loved it. He was so passionate about it, and I feel like he got tarred a lot with the bomb squad. Yeah, but I think with him there is a good little player there. Maybe he's not a player for United, but he is a decent enough player, and he's like And
the guy just probably sat next to Rashford for lunch one day, and then decided.
And you,
me.
Malacia just strikes me to be someone when everyone's cheering, he goes to high five and just everyone ignores him. That's what gets me. Mate, he sits on his own at lunch. Do you know what I mean? That's how he feels.
Poor Tyrell.
Yeah, Tyrell. There's always a seat for you here.
There's always a seat for you here, and
right over there, just away from us.
No. No, but we'd play you in our you could get a game on a Wednesday night with me in the last.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we have got a couple of injuries. Are you worried about like this stage of the season now, getting a couple of these key injuries? Like you said, Luke Shaw went off today. How big of a worry is that?
It's a big worry. I think with Luke, he's been Mr. Consistent this season. He's probably been a 7 out of 10 each week. 6, 7 out of 10. He was a 5 today.
Yeah.
But maybe he was carrying. Well, he got fouled badly. So, but I think with Luke Shaw, this has been his most consistent season in a Manchester United shirt.
Absolutely.
I think he has been injury free. Obviously, I hope, touch wood, this one isn't one of those ones that'll set him back. Because we know it takes him a while to get back when he's injured. But for me, yeah, I am worried. Hope he gets well soon, and I hope it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But other than that, on the treatment table, Mason Mount, you know, he's been out for a month now. You're looking at Ligt. You've got Martinez, who is said to be on his way back soon. So yeah, they are stacking a little bit, and you know, in those defensive positions as well. So I think we need to maybe throw in some of the youth players
Potentially, and I think, to be fair, if we are going to get a plethora of injuries, defence is kind of the place to do it, because we do have more options there. If we had people on the front three out, we're a bit snookered.
Oh, we've not got a backup front three. I mean, again, we've got loads of good youth players in those front three positions. I think, you know, we're off to watch. We're off to watch that on Wednesday. But yeah, I think let's touch wood. They're not too bad. Yeah. Hopefully, they're back in. They're back in soon. We're missing Paddy Dog. You know, I really miss Paddy Dog. He was doing great when he was flying. He was living his best life. He was dancing. He wasn't signing autographs unless his mum was there, though. So Patrick, come on. You're not too big for your boots. Just crack on. So no, that's it. But I think we do need every player up at to get to where we need to be in this, the end of the season. We're now currently sitting in third. Obviously, that is goal difference and stuff. You're looking at teams. Liverpool have got a quite easy run. Villa have just gone off a cliff. Chelsea, even are about them at the moment. How do you see us going? Do you see us kind of maintaining? It's a big week for us, isn't it? Really, big couple of games. We've got Newcastle and Villa up next. Newcastle aren't on form at the moment. You know, they seem to be a bit of a cup team this season. The Walter Marder is not happened for him at the club. So that's going to be a tough game, you know, because Eddie Howe seems to get a tune against us.
And I think probability isn't on our side against Newcastle, because Newcastle lost 3 at home on the bounce. They'd never lose 4 at home on the bounce. We're on such an good unbeaten run. I just feel like numbers. Carol Vorderman is sat there, he's cackling somewhere
put your abacus away, mate.
No,
we're gonna beat.
Fuck it, I love my abacus.
We're gonna beat Newcastle United, and the fog on the Tyne will be just all mine.
Oh, really? I think the Newcastle game is probably a tough one. I feel like every game we get now is going to be a tough one. But Newcastle away, it would be a shame after getting to this stage at third, I know, albeit on goal difference, to drop points straight after it and kind of let other teams get a taste of blood. How important do you think it is, the Newcastle one, for us to just carry on maintaining and building?
I think it's important we don't get beat. I think it's really important in the next 2 games we don't get beat. Now, a win would be good, you know, a win and a draw would be good, but if we come away with not losing any ground to Villa, that would be preferable. You know, we can see that Chelsea are losing and are down to 10 men, so that's good for us. Even though I hate Arsenal, so I hate Arsenal. So I don't care who wins the league. I'm not going to watch the top 2 positions. You know,
well, we'll be at the top 2.
No, we won't.
We're still on for United to be in second place for at least an hour by the end of March. By the way, which was my prediction.
Okay, your prediction. Yeah. If you're right, I'll take you for a curry, bro.
Mate, it's only based on if teams have different kick-off times to us and stuff. But I think it is doable.
Okay.
But no, I think genuinely, I think there's a lot of teams that have the fixtures are going to come thick and fast now. Essentially, is what I'm trying to say, and we need to make sure that we're putting these back-to-back wins again together. I think winning a draw, that kind of up and down scoring thing's not going to save us.
I know, it's a tough one, isn't it? You know, but like Michael Carrick's unbeaten as a Manchester United manager. We're going to go the whole season unbeaten. Not, you know. But long may it continue. Long may it continue. What do you think is going to happen in that Newcastle game?
I think it's 2-2, that one.
A Desmond?
Yeah, Desmond. I genuinely, I was like, I feel like if we were at home, I'd be saying we'd win it.
Yeah.
I'd say we win that. I think we get 2-2 there. I think we beat Villa. I think last time we played Villa, we were really unlucky. We matched them. We were all over them. They had 2 wonder strikes by Rodgers that did that. We couldn't really find the back of the net, and it was like the death rattle of Amarin, wasn't it? And I feel like with a bit...
Oh, the death rattle of Amarin. I like that.
Yeah.
That was
nice word, isn't
nice.
it? But yeah, I think it was like one of his last kind of swan song performances, and I felt
His
like...
last hurrah.
Last hurrah. Well, I think Leeds wasn't it? That was
His
the
last
actual one,
dance.
but I think, yeah, the last dance. Not as enigmatic as the Red Bulls one.
Yeah.
But I feel like we more than matched Villa in that game, and I feel like when we play them next time, I think the way we're set up now is a lot better than that, and we've showed that we can give them a bloody nose, but now we're going to just...
hopefully Cunha... Did Cunha score our goal in the Villa game? Yeah, he did. I think Cunha's kind of going under the radar at the moment, isn't he? You know, I think like his performance today, he does a lot of stuff that I love. You know, his work off the ball's great, and he has this just ability just in moments of the game where we need to get up the pitch. He goes, fuck it, I'm going to go on a run. Do you know what I mean? He's like, right, okay, I'm just going to tuck the ball around and open up space.
I think
it's beautiful.
I think his game knowledge is incredible, because obviously, like, he knows when to draw a foul as well. When he's like, all right, they're having a bit of the ball here, let's just try and get a free kick and just slow the game down. He draws in fouls. He knows when to keep the ball. He knows to retain it and do that. And I think his football IQ is sky high and doesn't get credited enough for it, because he's not doing.
And Lacroix could have killed him.
Yeah, he could have killed him. But I think he is one of our better players. And I think the problem is with Cunha is I think football is so analytical and stat driven these days.
Yeah.
You look at goals and assists, but if you actually look at what the contribution to the team is, to what the contribution on the pitch is, he's next level.
He's next level. He's one of our better signings of the post Sir Alex Ferguson era. I'd say the 4 signings this season, they could all be up there in the top 10 of the post-Fergie signings, you know.
Absolutely.
I think that even the top 5, you know, you look Bruno, then we go Cunha, Lamens, you know, Šeško and Mbeumo. No, Sancho. Fuck off. Jesus. You know what? Jaden's not a bad lad, and he gets a lot of stick, and I think I'm sad for him, you know what I mean? But it's all done with him. But with the abacus stuff, should we talk a little bit about the Q2 financial results of Manchester United for a minute?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Should we shoehorn that in?
Let's just shoehorn it in then, mate. Yeah.
Okay. So, like, there's a lot of talk about it being, you know, a positive that Man United are showing profit. But if you do a deeper dive into the numbers, it's the Radcliffe era has started okay. You know, they've made the cuts at the club to make it a positive. But it made me sort of go back and look through what we've actually done in the last 20 years under Glazer ownership. And for every £1 of revenue that's come into the club, at least 25p has gone on servicing their debt. So every pound of revenue, 25p is going to buy our club before we can buy players.
Scandalous.
And then we look at, okay, we've also got this massive transfer debt. So every pound of revenue comes in actually goes on the transfer debt. You know, so if you look at what we've made in the 20 years the Glazers have been here, you know, we've gone from making, you know, 200 million a year to like 660. You know, there's over 9.5 billion that's gone through the club. They've taken 2 billion out in you know, the money off Jim Radcliffe, you know, selling shares. You know, they've made their money back, you know, tenfold off the club. And really the fans are paying the players, they're paying the debt. And now I just think at a time where the country's on its arse a bit, we're actually going to ask the government to help us pay for the stadium. Well, actually, what needs to happen is as fans, we need to say, look, this needs to end now, because it's just not cricket. You know, why do we don't need a billionaire to own the club? because the club it could self-fund itself, you know. So yeah, I'm really passionate about it. There's going to be a few things coming out about it, but it's just looking at those numbers, it just made me really, really sad. The reality is that we could have kept all those staff on, but you know, really, we're paying off someone else's credit card bill to buy the club. It's a fucking disgrace.
Yeah, it's disheartening, isn't it, when you're ripping out heart and soul of clubs and people's livelihoods at stake just to service debts.
Well, yeah, and like when I did go through the numbers, I went back as early as, you know, so before the season that the Glazers took over, right, we had the extension, the last big investment, right? The club paid for it.
Yeah.
The club paid for it. There was no debt needed to do it. The club had the money in the bank and they paid for it. There was no hike in season ticket prices. There was no nothing. And if you think about it, the amount of money that the club's made over that time, it could have afforded to buy the new, you know, build the new stadium without having to go to a bank and lend money, you know. And this is one of the biggest institutions in the country, Manchester United Football Club. And we've allowed the money to just leave the country. That is a really sad state of affairs.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be happening at a scale like this, especially for a club like Man United.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon? What do you reckon realistically is the next steps for this in terms of get the Glazers out?
Well, I think it's whether the Glazers are up for actually selling the club, and whether Ineos are actually going to buy the club, because they've had the option now to buy the club for the last 18 months and they've not taken it up. So what's happening? Well, the only thing that's really progressed is this talk of a new stadium. Everyone's interested in the talk of the new stadium, but do we really want a new stadium? And what are the connotations of having a new stadium? Is it going to be that we've got to have the Glazers for another 20 years? Is it going to be who's going to be taking the project forward? You know, who's going to be making money? Because, you know, with these projects, there's always money being made for somebody else. You know, it's I know that's slightly away from football, but I know Manchester United fans feel passionate about this. I know, like, I've never wanted them at the club. And I was accepting of Radcliffe when he came in, because we've had, you know, we've been emerging from the cellar of the Glazers for the last 20 years or whatever, but it just looks like more of the same. His comments the other week were the turning point, and then looking at the finance numbers, I'm not confident that it's going to be any different. So I think, as fans, I think we need to come together. I think we need to look at viable options and get organised, because, you know, there's a fair few of us, and you know, we contribute to 33 pence of income every year for every pound, which is like 4 billion over the last 20 years have come from Manchester United fans. The rest commercial and TV, but £4 billion has come from Manchester United. It's insane, isn't it? It's absolutely insane. Anyway, what do you think?
I'm not as well versed on it as you are, obviously, but no, it is disgusting to hear that just how much the club is being bleeded just to settle a debt, essentially.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is I think Glazers, they're onto a good thing from their point of view. Is like
that type of takeover has been outlawed.
Yeah.
You know, and Chelsea were forced into the sale by the government. Why can't Manchester United be forced into a sale by the government? Why can't it be put in fans' hands? Why can't we take the Barcelona model where we have fan ownership? What, you know, there'd be enough members that'd be willing to pay, you know, a whatever £100 a year subscription to be an owner, a voting member in the club. You know,
well, I think a lot of people's pockets get a lot lighter, so that's why that won't move forward, will it? So
no, well, look, it's going to take $6 billion to get them out of the club, right? So it's where do you get $6 billion from? You know, those are the questions that we need to answer. But not for today.
Definitely not. We've only
got
the studio for another 2 hours. So, no, absolutely. But like, talk about the past there is pretty awful to see how the club's been handled over the last couple of years. But looking forward to the future. Obviously, the youth game this week in Sunderland. Let's talk a little bit about that.
I'm so excited to be watching that game. I'm taking my lad. I know it's at the same time as the Newcastle game, so I'll have the TV on as well. So I'll have that there. But it's going to be a tough game for this Manchester United team. Have been steamrolling people, right? We've got the likes of JJ Gabriel in there. and a few others who are really, really doing well. But Sunderland beat us in October at home, so it's got a bit of needle about it. It's but I think the lads will rise, and I've been to see them a couple of times, and I just they're an exciting group, and Darren Fletcher's doing a fantastic job with them. He's playing exciting football, and yeah.
Where do you think the goals are going to come from?
Ooh, I think JJ. I think JJ's going to bag again.
Tearing it up.
He's just such an exciting player to watch, and it comforts me that we have players like JJ at the academy for one reason. Footballers being coached out of being your Neymars, your Nannies, your trickeries. That is being coached out at most academy levels, but it's exciting to know that we embrace it.
Yeah.
We embrace individuality. We embrace, finding the next Cantona, the next Ronaldo, the next Rooney. Because he was let go from another academy. So it's like it's a difficult one. That's what Manchester United is all about: youth, excitement, getting people off their feet, and that's why we're the most loved club. And loved and hated club globally. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, well, hopefully we can get through against Sunderland and get the job done there. We're kind of at the point of wrapping up now, but we need to talk a little bit about the Stanley Chow competition.
We do need to talk about the Stanley Chow competition. We've got a winner, and we have DM'd him. So,
Just remind us again, what was the competition? What were we doing?
Where it was just guess the player name. Yeah. There was a Stanley Chow original hidden in our post, in our Instagram and TikTok post. Do you know what the original was?
Senny Lamans.
It was Senny Lamans. That picture had never been seen before.
Was it an exclusive by us?
It was an exclusive by us.
That is pretty cool.
Stanley Chow provided it to us. Stanley Chow is he's the coolest dude in Manchester, and a great friend to the podcast, and we can't wait to have him on. But yes, someone's getting a nice Stanley Chow original sent to them this week.
Awesome. And also as well, if you haven't listened to the Stanley Chow podcast, make sure you do, because it's an absolute belter as well.
Absolute belter. Awesome. But yeah, look, that's it, isn't it?
Exciting days, though. United up to third, business as usual. Up to third. Carrick's at the wheel.
Carrick's at the wheel. Sign the contract. Put it on the table. Sorry for banging the table because it's bad for the audio.
Yeah, I won't worry about it.
But yeah, let's crack on, and we're recording again next week. Hopefully, sitting in second.
Yeah, of course we will be for at least 1 hour. Right, cheers, guys.
Football, by the hell. This is the Benjamin Dream. Will you please welcome